I was just wondering, have you heard of somebody called Derren Brown? He's a British hypnotist, stroke illusionist, stroke, well, I don't know where else he's described as, to be honest. But he's pretty much well known over here and very popular. And he does all these clever mind tricks and stuff on people, and clever things where he usually stands in front of an audience on a stage in a theatre type building, and he plucks people out of the audience and gets volunteers to come up and stuff and gets them to think of certain numbers and names and all this, and does clever tricks and stuff. Well, anyway, he did a show recently over here on Channel 4. I think it was called Derren Brown Meets the Ghost Hunter. And on this show, he set out allegedly to find out if ghosts were real or not, and to see if he could, see any evidence that would convince him that maybe ghosts exist, because he pretty much doesn't believe in this sort of stuff and he thinks it's all nonsense. Anyway, on this show, he went out on a few investigations with the ghost hunter guy, and they went to a cemetery in the dark, late on I guess it was, and they tried to take some photographs to try and, capture orbs and stuff, but nothing happened there. They didn't even get any orbs or anything. And then they tried to get some EVPs in the cemetery as well. And then when they went back to the ghost hunter's place, they played the recordings back to see if there was anything on them. And there was a few things here and there, which appeared to coincide with questions that they asked, and there was what appeared to be an answer afterwards. But the ghost hunter was convinced that that was a paranormal response, but Derren Brown wasn't convinced, and he said he thought it was just interference. Anyway, to cut a long story short, at the end of the show, Derren Brown's final conclusion was, about EVPs, that they were nothing more than interference. I guess he means somehow digital recorders are picking up voices from radio waves or something, stuff like that, radio interference, I don't know wherever else, but some sort of electronic interference that's picking up voices from somewhere else of real living people and not voices of the dead. So I was wondering what you thought about that, because me personally, I think that's rubbish, because I used to try to capture most of my EVPs on sort of high-8 camcorders, which are analog based technology, using a tape, and I didn't really get any EVPs, to be honest, on them, and it wasn't from a lack of listening. Then I started trying digital 8, which is the next level up from high 8, only it uses digital tapes. They look the same, but they're digital. To be honest, I didn't really get much on those either. I think I got a slight few things, but nothing major. And then I went to mini DV, which is digital once again, but on smaller tape. Again, I didn't get that much. There was a couple of occasions where I recorded some what I deemed to be EVPs, but mostly they didn't pick too much up. But then I started using a digital voice recorder. Didn't really have much luck with that either, to be honest, unless it was the way I was using it. But the thing that picked up the most EVPs was I got a little digital camcorder which uses an SD card, and I started using that because it was easier to handle than the digital voice recorder. It was easier to operate and play the stuff back and get it on the computer and stuff. Anyway, I caught quite a few EVPs on that, and I just find it weird that, I used to try to get EVPs with all these other different types of recording technology and didn't really come up with much. And then I start using a SD card camcorder, using the either the voice recording facility or just running it as a camera and just extracting the sound files onto the computer, and then getting loads of EVPs. And I also I pointed this out in another video, but like, I went to lots of places where I didn't get any EVPs at all. And some of these locations were in the middle of housing estates. Well, not right in the middle, but next to houses on an open field and area where there's lots of trees and stuff. And didn't really get much. But then I would take it somewhere else, which was also next to a housing area, and I'd get like loads. And I don't know how I couldn't really put this down to interference, because like I say, I've never got interference on any of my other recording technology devices, like the camcorders and stuff, the digital 8 and the high 8 and mini DV. I didn't get too much on them. And plus, let's not forget, some of the voices that you get, as you know, tie in with what the question you've just asked. Right? So if you ask what is your name and they say Harry, or if you ask them, you know, how many people's here, and they say 2, or, you know, did you used to live here? Yes. You know, stuff like that. How the hell can that be interference? You'd be hearing stuff like, this is Radio 1, or, you know, taxi, we need a taxi, stuff like that, you know. You wouldn't be hearing yes, no, yes, my name is Michael, and stuff like this. What sort of interference is that? That's very, what's the chances of getting exact, appropriate answers to your questions from interference? I mean, does Derren Brown ever think about that? I don't think he does somehow. I think he just likes to make a mockery of the whole paranormal community. And he likes to make himself look good. You know, going around saying ghosts don't exist and it's all rubbish and all this. It's all nonsense. I don't think he looks into it far enough, to be honest. If he really wanted to find out if this stuff was real or not, he should approach a proper paranormal group, you know, of lots of people, not just one guy. And, you know, someone like Taps, for example. If Derren Brown approached Taps and made a TV show, maybe, you know, they'd be to show him some more substantial material that could be classed as evidence and see where he thinks then. And I'm sure they could basically, you know, show him the ropes, so to speak, and take him out on, you know, a lot more in-depth investigations and stuff. Because just picking one guy who not many people have even heard of to do a show about trying to find out if, you know, ghosts are real or not is pretty lame, let's face it. He picks, you know, one guy who nobody's heard of. I just think the whole show was a setup. He picked somebody who he knew he could make a fool of. I don't think he could do that with Taps. For one, I don't think they'd stand for it. Anyway, thanks for watching, Faith, and I'd just like to know your thoughts about all of that, on the, you know, EVPs being considered interference by Derren Brown and stuff. What do you think about it? Okay, anyway, thanks for watching and listening, and bye for now.